Is Breakthrough. I am so excited that you're joining me today. This is the first time I'm going live using Restream, and it's been a challenge because many of you who follow me on Facebook know that I normally go at 7 p.m. on Sundays. So today I'm trying something new um, on a Monday. It's exciting. A mistake is never really a mistake when you think about it. And today we are talking about how not to sell yourself short. And that's really critical because many times we accept things, we accept less than we deserve, basically, because we don't quite know what our worth is. So today, that's what we are talking about, how to not sell yourself short, basically, to know your worth. And that's the essence of this evening's program. We have all had people question our identity or our worth, and because we are not confident about ourselves or our self worth, we basically sell ourselves short. That's the essence of what we are talking about today. How not to do that. Now, if you look at this bill, it could be $100 bill. In this case, it's a $10 bill. But if I were to crumple this bill and throw it down and maybe even step on it and pick it up and offer it to you, would you accept it? Absolutely, because the value of this bill was not diminished because of what it went through. Many times we believe that our worth has been diminished because of the challenges that we go through. And I want to tell you today that that's not true. Unlike a bill that only has a defined value, when you go through challenging times, your worth is increased. Think about that. It's really important. When you go through a challenging time, you learn new things. You have to have a different level of resilience in order to go through it. So by the time you on the other end, you realize, wow, you've learned so much more than you knew before you began. And that's what we are talking about today. You understanding your worth and living it. No amount of money is equal to your worth. And I'd like you to understand that worth in you and take advantage of it. If this is your first time joining me, thank you. Thank you for taking the time this evening to be with me and share in this journey of breakthrough tips, tools, and insights for life. I ask you to share this video, this link, and encourage others to join us. Give me some love, give me some hearts, or thumbs up if you're on YouTube. Yay, as I said, it's my first time streaming on YouTube and Facebook concurrently. That's really exciting. Something else to think about, we now have a sound producer. Yes, Travis Montez. He is the CEO of Good Vibes Only. It's a production studio here in our area, and hopefully I'll be able to interview him live here at some point. So stay tuned. You'd learn more about him. So again, and by the way, today's title, "How Not to Sell Yourself Short," is his suggestion. So I deliberately used it to honor him today. So again, I encourage you to email me a story. If you've got a story that you'd like me to share on Breakthrough about you or your family or someone you know who has really broken through and come out on the other side, I encourage you to send me an email about it. And by the way, I'll be able to share my screen sometimes and show you important things. Not today. I'm still getting used to or comfortable to broadcasting using my laptop versus my phone. And hopefully we'll get cameras soon. We'll work on that. So thank you again. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, would you please do so and let me know what share your thoughts with me there as well. And I'm now also on TikTok. I'm so excited. I know we've got to move with the times because in life, the only thing that's absolute is change. And if we don't move with the change, move with the times, we tend to lose out. So I encourage you to do that. I hardly ever share what I do. And many of you may not know that I am a business consultant, business coach, and life coach. So if you would like to have a conversation with me, I'd like to have a conversation with you as to how I can help you grow or accomplish your goals. Let's talk about that. Okay, so I told you about the sound producer, and the other thing I want to tell you about, and these are my current events for this week. So one is that we got a producer, and we are still looking for a program content producer, but we do have now a sound producer. So that's really exciting. What else? Oh, I am finishing up my book, Leading with Passion and Purpose. It's been sitting on the back shelf for way too long now. And that's all about what breakthrough is all about. Breakthrough is about living and leading with passion and purpose. It's about knowing or understanding that we were created with purpose for impact, and we were created with a worth that's beyond money. Nothing can truly purchase what we are worth. So we've got to remember that as we move forward. Breakthrough is helping you recognize that your mind, our minds, is our most valuable asset. And breakthrough is also about living and deliberately influencing people with the spirit of excellence. So that's what breakthrough is all about. Okay, so as we talk about not selling yourself short and knowing your self-worth, knowing your self-worth is very much in line with knowing your identity. You cannot truly understand your worth if you don't understand your identity. And a simple practical example for that is when we consider the different types of technology that's out there. I had this conversation with Travis this week, my sound producer, and he said, Sharon, you can have many different types of laptop. And he asked me what type I had. And I said, well, I'm using a Vizio right now. He said, well, when you consider a Vizio to a Mac is like top of the line, whereas, he referred it to vehicles. So I think he may have used a Maserati. So consider a Maserati, or one of the most expensive cars out there, versus a Ford or a Toyota. And he said, well, when it comes to technology, a Vizio is a Ford or Toyota, and a MacBook is like a Maserati. And if you don't know the difference, you would think that a Maserati is just not worth anything and treated badly, or not, or you may take it to a regular mechanic, not knowing or realizing that it should be taken to a professional mechanic that or a factory type mechanic rather than a regular side of the street type mechanic. The essence of what I'm saying is knowing your worth helps you to determine how you go forward, how you take care of yourself, how you share yourself. And that's really critical. You've got to know who you are and whose you are in order to truly understand your worth. Someone who owns a Maserati, they know that if anything goes wrong with it, they'll take it back to the manufacturer. It's going to be fixed and they're good to go again. A Ford or a Toyota, people may think, well, I can just take it to any side of the street mechanic and have them fix it. No, with you, that's certainly not the case, and you certainly don't want to act that way. So again, our identity and how we see ourselves is most critical in determining it's the most critical and determining factor of our success or failure. It is the single most important knowledge we must have in order to live live a successful life with passion and purpose and accomplish our life's destiny. It's really important to know whose you are. Knowing our identity is the only way we can truly accomplish our life's purpose or mission here on earth. And finally, the most important thing before I go in depth in this topic is that our identity is linked to whose we are. I mentioned the Maserati and the manufacturer and so on. So too with us, our identity is linked to the person, our creator, our maker. And if we don't get that connection, then we wouldn't fully understand who we are or whose we are. I remember this is a story I've shared with you several times on this program, where I was out to lunch with one of the executives I worked with on Wall Street. And he asked me a question that really still to this day have me being aware of who I am and whose I am. He said, Sharon, what makes you so different than any other Black person I know? Now, to most people, they may think, well, that sounds a bit racist. And I know the person, and I don't think he was trying to be racist. This beautiful day, sitting on the sidewalk at a downtown Wall Street, having lunch on the sidewalk. And when he asked me that, it didn't take me a long time to answer because I knew I was different, but I didn't realize that people actually noticed how different I was. So I was able to share with him, I'm different because I know whose I am, and that allows me to know who I am. Once you know whose you are, who you belong to, it allows you to be confident in you know, confident in who you are, because you know that you're not ordinary. So that's really important to know. The other thing is that our identity stems from what we think about ourselves. So again, our mind comes into view. So when I talk about your mind being your most valuable asset, it is because your mind determines your identity, and that determines everything else about you. Our self-worth is inextricably tied to our identity. Do you identify as a minority, or as uneducated, or too fat, too thin? I'm a nobody. If you identify and you say that to yourself, then guess what? People are going to see you that way as well. So be mindful of that. Then, and that diminishes who you are. Once you can place a label on you that is not a label that was ascribed to you by your manufacturer. Again, every manufacturer has a label. And if you label yourself with labels that are not genuine, then you don't get the genuine person. So be mindful of that. Our identity, or the way we see ourselves, in a large part determines our value, our self-worth, and eventually our success or failure, as I mentioned earlier. It determines our destiny. It's just so important that we are mindful of that. The way we see ourselves in our mind's eyes, and our assessment of our self-worth, again, that comes from our mind, and what we accept basically from our society about ourselves, what we accept from our friends and family, our neighbors, the people we are closest to, the names they choose to call us. As long as you accept it, you're boxing yourself in. And I'm saying to you, don't accept any name that does not fit with your manufacturer's label. That's the essence of what I'm saying. Don't accept anything, any name, any label that does not fit with your manufacturer's original label. That includes what you believe from your family members, what you believe from society, or the systems of this world. All of those things determine your self-worth. Your self-worth does not come from anything external. Your self-worth comes from who you are inside of whose you are. So be mindful of that. Okay, so as we move forward, I want to remind you that in order to get what you want and get the right thing, again, you've got to know your worth. I remember working on Wall Street when I first began. I was working on Wall Street, and I was working as a contractor. And after 9/11, they said that no more contractors, everyone must come on and as full-time staff. And I was holding out because they were offering me an income that I thought wasn't what they had offered me a few months ago before I came on full-time. And at that time, again, 9/11, the market was flooded with talent from many of those buildings that were destroyed downtown. And many people were looking for jobs, and here I am on this job, and they offered me a full-time position, and I'm negotiating at a time when everyone was just grabbing what was available. And the reason I negotiated was they had offered me an income a few months before, and because I guess I delayed, they figured the market was flooded with talented people, and that they should offer me $10,000 less. And I thought to myself, I said, I'm not going to accept that. But, you know, it's always difficult to bring up topics of income and increase to your boss, or when you're looking for a raise. Nonetheless, I decided to challenge it. And I said, listen, when they asked me why haven't I accepted yet, I said, you offered me an income of X amount 2 or 3 months ago, Nothing has changed other than the market being flooded, but my responsibilities, the things I'll be doing, hasn't changed. It hasn't decreased. So I really think that we need to revisit that amount, understanding that if a new person comes on, they'll have to learn and get up to speed before they are able to truly be effective in this position. Wouldn't you know, they gave me that $10,000 increase that I was looking for. At that moment, it occurred to me I was able to fight, or not necessarily fight, but negotiate effectively because I knew my worth. They knew my worth too because I had been working in that position for about a year by then. My point to you is, once you know your worth, once you know your value, you're able to negotiate more effectively. In these times where it seemed to be so challenging, you were thinking that, well, I'm not really worth much because I'm not working in a 9 to 5 job. Can I tell you, you are worth so much more than you can ever be paid for in a 9 to 5 job. And in one of my programs, as a matter of fact, I'm doing a business program. Well, it's for business and individuals on February 17th, a Wednesday, right here on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, actually. It's a paid event, but I promise you, I'll be sharing 2021 and beyond ideas of which you can do right where you are at home and earn a good living from it. These are necessary positions that are needed in these times for this pandemic issue. So stay tuned to that, and if you can sign up on Facebook for that program, it's on February 27th. How to grow your business and basically grow your life. What do you need to move from where you are now to your next level? So remember that. Okay, so there are many things in society that was just a plug for my upcoming program. So thank you for sharing it too. I want to remind you of some of the things we see in society that causes us to believe or think incorrectly about our self-worth. There are many things that society uses to classify or label us. For example, they try to discriminate on people or diminish your worth based on your religion, based on your gender. Do you know that there are over 4,300 different religions out there? And people use them, including the main ones, which is Christianity, and I believe Muslim is the second largest religion. But my point is, people use your religion as a form of discriminatory practices against you. Now, I know employment laws in the US does not allow that, but I'm saying to you that's one of the ways people use, or a system that they use to make you feel like you're not worth what you're asking for. Your gender, well, you're a woman, so you ought not to be doing this job, or you ought not to have so much in pay, and so on. Another one is culture. Do you know that there are more than 3,800 cultures around the world? 3,800, and I've been told that there could be more as well. People use our finances. Well, you don't have enough money, too much or too little. Education, well, you're not educated enough, or you don't have a college degree. And when you do, they say, well, you don't have a master's or a PhD. And there are always things that people can use to try and diminish or reduce your worth. It's up to you to fight for yourself and determine that, wait a second, I am good enough. Wait a second, I'm not too much, I'm just enough. I'm not overqualified, I'm perfectly qualified for this position. People use your immigration status. For example, are you a citizen? How long have you been a citizen? Or you have an accent. Maybe you ought not to be here. And the funny thing is, when I look back at myself, I was working on Wall Street as a real minority. Minority because it was a male-dominated place, and primarily Caucasian male-dominated. There weren't many women at all in leadership. And here I am, not just in leadership, but as a Black woman, as a Caribbean American Black woman with an accent. And did I experience some challenges? Absolutely. One of my staff members, and again, I managed the operations of over 500 people and had about 8 direct reports and 40 something indirect reports. And one of my direct reports would tell me something, and she was Caucasian, and she'd say, in my day, we would never be reporting to someone like you. having to go through that. And if you're not strong, if you don't know your self-worth, that can really paralyze you, or paralyze your management skills in dealing with that person, because now you're thinking, oh my gosh, she's right. No, if you know your worth, you are able to push through challenges like those and continue moving forward. People would use anything they can against you to try and break you down, to give you something that give you less than your worth, basically. And that's why I'm saying to you, don't sell yourself short. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that be mediocre and expect to be paid well and do great things. That's not what I'm saying at all. Breakthrough is about leading with passion and purpose. It's about continually improving and getting better at what we do and who we are. It's about always realizing that this level you're at is not the end. Even if you've been president, that's not the end. As long as you're alive, there's another level in which you can go to. So I'm saying aspire for greatness, aspire for great things as well out of yourself. Don't just settle. There's no room in this world for mediocrity. Can I tell you, people may not like your face, and this I got from my mentor and pastor in New York. He would always say, people may not like your face, but they cannot take your place. And another thing I've learned is that people may not like your face, but can I tell you, or they may not even want to respect you. But when you're knowledgeable in your own area of giftedness, when you become the most knowledgeable in that area, they would gladly come to you. And guess what? Green money doesn't know any color. And if they need your services, they'll be happy to pay for it. So I'm saying to you, don't just expect people to give you what you want. You've got to prove to them that you are worth what you're asking for. In these times of this pandemic and COVID-19, there are so many opportunities that you can pick up right now. Things that you used to know how to do or do well even now. Things that you were paid to do on your job that you could modify for a home business. I'm saying to you that don't give up on yourself. Don't just feel like, oh my gosh, there's nothing I can do. Even if you're a mom at home, there's some areas of specialty that you know better than most people out there, because you're dealing with it every single day. Figure out, what business can I establish from where I'm at right now? You've got to know what you are worth before other people recognize it and pay you for it. Okay, I mentioned before that people use race as a pawn to attempt to demean you, and in so doing, attempt to reduce your self-worth. Be mindful of that. You're not too black, you're not too white, you're not too brown. You're just perfect the way you are. So keep improving on yourself, making yourself better. Listen, this year has been named, I've named this year after my pastor, and after what church has named the year. I've named this year my year of restoration and upgrade. So I am upgrading myself in every way. I'm going after that MBA knowledge. I'm going after that greater business and consulting knowledge. I'm going after more to make me better and make me a better person, to bring more to you as well. Many people, knowing the impact of this one word, and I think it's so prevalent in our society, especially, oh my goodness, over the last 4 years, where people would use that N word, and then once we hear it, we become almost demoralized. I would love to see a world where people would use that word to me and then recognize that it has no impact on me. What that does is it breaks down their whatever tool that they think that they could use against you. It breaks it down, because if something is not impacting you, then why would they use it? Because they realize it's ineffective. And I know that's such a power-packed word that is so painful. So I'm not talking about it lightly, but I know that people use that to hurt us, to hurt people like brown and black people. So be mindful of that and figure out in what way, how can I show you that you may call me that, but I know that I'm not that, and I'll show you based on how I will respond to you. So be mindful of that. Something else, what you accept or tolerate from yourself and others would ultimately determine your value. I'll repeat that. What you accept from yourself and others will ultimately determine your value. You've got to raise your standards. Again, we need to raise our standards in order for people to appreciate and truly value who we are. What principles do you live by? I've shared mine with you. I live by the principles that my CIA principles are living with character, integrity, and a good attitude. Those are my CIA principles. Those are what I live by. I live by the principle of me being an example of what love is. So anyone who comes into my life for a short period or who know me as a friend or business person, they should feel the love of God. They should feel who I am, what I am all about. So what are your principles? You've got to live by standards in order to truly know your worth and have people appreciate your worth. This would determine, again, your standards would determine how you allow others to deal with you, and more importantly, how you treat yourself. Because many times we don't treat ourselves well because we don't truly appreciate who we are. Okay, within the next 5 minutes, I would just like to share some more about identifying who you are and whose you are. Again, don't forget your identity, how you feel about yourself, your self-worth does not come from the outside. It starts or comes from the inside of you. It starts right here in your mind. So be mindful of that. I remember when I was leaving one group at Standard & Poor's to go to another group, I was working in the Performance Evaluation Services group, which was primarily a consulting group with, we are the group that helped the U.S. government develop that No Child Left Behind Act. And I was working in the marketing department, communicating with all the state school superintendents, including the White House and not the White House, but the Department of Education. And can I tell you, when I left that department and wanted to go over to the structured finance group, which was the place to be, after all, they brought in the most money in the company, not only was I recommended by the head of our group, but I was also unanimously chosen from the panel as the person who ought to run or ought to be the head of that, the administrative person for that group. Why? I didn't just go empty-handed. Because I knew my worth, because I felt I was doing so much more in my previous department than I was told to, I increased my worth. More than that, when I applied for that position, I wrote up a plan of action, what I plan to do within the next 3 months. That was a bold move. No one else who applied for that position did anything like that. But I said to them, I went a little further. I said, if I don't do these things within the next 3 months, I would be happy to leave this group, or I invite you to fire me. Who does that? Only if you know your worth can you do something so bold. So I'm encouraging you. You want to try something? You want to do something new? Look for new ways and new ideas. That's what this time calls for. In this time of pandemic and COVID-19, we need to find creative solutions to the issues of our lives. Now, when I got into that position, I had to prove myself over that next 90 days. Fact is, any job you go to, you're on 90 days probation anyway. So why not make a bold move and suggest some great things and then work hard to accomplishing it? You need to lift your standards. Before people can recognize your value, your worth, you need to lift your standards to the point where they can see it. I'm going to conclude this month's program with this topic on knowing your self-worth. Knowing your worth. No one else would know it. No one else can know it for you. You are the one who need to be able to know it, project it, and you project it by deliberately impacting people around you, deliberately establishing standards to live by and walk by, knowing who you are by knowing whose you are. Oh my gosh, if you don't do anything else, start there. Know who you are, know whose you are. Your creator made you with a great plan for for your life. And he made you and he's willing to help you. Consider you as a parent, or even if you're not a parent, you have nieces and nephews who you would help in any way possible you could. He, as your parent, as our parent, he's ready to help us. He's ready to help us. He tells us in what 20 Jeremiah 29:11, he knows the plans he has for us, and the plans are good. The plans are to prosper you. When you think of Joshua 1:8, it literally tells you how to be successful. Isn't that amazing? Okay, and this is my challenge to you. Between now and next week, read Joshua 1:8. It tells you how to be successful. And it starts by you knowing who you are, by knowing whose you are. So I'd leave you there. But today I'd like to pray for you before I leave. Thank you, first of all, for joining me my first week. It was challenging getting this. Beginning this. Yesterday I did a half an hour program and was not realizing that I wasn't live. Isn't that crazy? And then my dear friend, Anna, she's just so amazing in New York. She said, "Hey, what's the link? We can't get you." And people like Patricia in New York, who is just such an amazing destiny helper, I guess I can call. And thank you so much, Helen, for being with us today. So grateful to you guys. Thank you for sharing it and just being part of my life and helping to grow me. I'd like to pray for you if you'd allow me. Father, I pray right now that everyone watching or who will watch this program would use the tips, tools, and insights I've shared to help them truly break out of what they know about themselves, get to know you, and know who they are by knowing you, and know that they are worth so much more than this world tries to tell them. Father, may they break out of the boxes that the system and the world has put them in, and know that they were meant to do great things, and to know that they are worthy, oh God. Help us, Father, not to sell ourselves short. Help us to walk with passion and purpose to impact this world with love and gratitude. Help us, oh God, to live and lead with passion and purpose. Give us creative ideas to know what to do in these times, Father God, to impact not just our society and our family, but our own lives. We thank you for helping us to trust in you, our creator, our maker, with all of our hearts and not lean on our own understanding. Help us to seek your help and direction in all that we do, say, and think, knowing that you would show us what to do and how to do it. We ask all of these things in the mighty name of Jesus. And until next week, remember, you are worth so much more than you think. And don't allow anyone to break you down or sell, and don't sell yourself short, basically. Live by standards and have a fantastic week. Thank you again for joining me. See you next week.